It would be so easy to destroy you in spells.
Yeah, hit us.
Hey, little buddy, want a ride?
Pikachu!
Yeah, whatever.
Skelly. Boyo.
The 2024 Formula One season provided stories that will live long in the memory. It was arguably one of the most exciting motorsport competitions of the modern era, crammed with action, drama, upsets, controversies, and some outstanding driving throughout the field. The biggest pre-season story was undoubtedly the news that seven-time world champion Lewis Hamilton had signed a deal to drive for Ferrari, meaning this would be his final season with Mercedes, the team he joined in 2013, and with which he'd won 6 of his titles.
I've been with this team such a long time. There's so much love within the team, and I still and will always will love this team. So everyone was incredibly understanding within the team and hugely supportive. And everyone knows that I'm here to deliver for them this year, so that's the focus. So it's the same as any other year.
On the first day of testing in Bahrain, Max Verstappen topped the timing tables, and many an impartial observer feared for another season of total domination by the Dutch master, with Red Bull's 2024 challenger, the RB20, looking very much like an upgrade of Adrian Newey's record-breaking car from the previous year. However, the Ferraris looked pacey on the subsequent 2 days, and McLaren fared far better than they had 12 months previously, when they'd been horribly off the pace in what was clearly a misstep in their design philosophy. A record 24 races lay ahead in what would become the busiest season in F1 history to date. The first Grand Prix was on familiar ground, the Bahrain International Circuit. In practice, the Red Bulls looked out of sorts, struggling with their setups, but Max made it count when it mattered, taking his first pole position of the season.
The new season is underway, and it's a good reaction time for Max Verstappen. Little bit of a wiggle, but he maintains the lead. Look at the sparks flying as the teammates go wheel to wheel. Charles Leclerc refusing to give it up, but he's got no choice. Perez knows what's coming, tries the up and under, applies the power, super aggressive stuff, and position gains. The Dutch driver continues his domination of Formula One. Max Verstappen wins the season opener. Red Bull expected, Red Bull delivered. It's a 1-2 for the team, chased home by Carlos Sainz.
Carlos Sainz went from a podium to a hospital bed, the Spaniard with an appendicitis, as the teams moved to Saudi Arabia for round 2. Taking his Ferrari for the weekend, 18-year-old reserve driver Oliver Bearman, who put in a fine performance to score points on his debut.
Ferrari's youngest ever Formula One driver is a point scorer at the first attempt.
And P7, awesome job, mate.
I really enjoyed it. It was so much fun out there.
And you're the driver of the day out there. Good showing.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone.
But out in front, it was again looking ominous for Red Bull's would-be challengers.
Eat, sleep, win, repeat. Verstappen takes the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix to lead home a Red Bull 1-2.
Melbourne, another round, another Verstappen pole. Red Bull were again looking a class apart.
And Formula One is underway in Melbourne. These two started life in Formula One together at Toro Rosso, and they're about to go wheel to wheel. You're watching a Ferrari take the lead of the Grand Prix. Carlos Sainz, first opportunity offered up, first opportunity taken, and the man who didn't race in the last round leads in round 3.
It is smoke out of the back of Verstappen's car. Reliability could be a question mark.
Can you believe what we're seeing? The man who has finished every Grand Prix since he retired from this one in 2022 has smoke from the rear of the car. It's gone. It's gone. The man who was trying to win 10 Grand Prix in a row for the second time in his Formula One career. A fire at the back of the car. The dreams of victory gone. Oh, big crash. George Russell with a massive accident at the end of the Grand Prix at turn number 6. What a performance. What a comeback. A Ferrari 1-2 headed by Carlos Sainz.
I think we got it. Yes, we have it. P1, baby, P1.
This is amazing. Life is a roller coaster.
It is.
Life is incredible sometimes.
I think it's amazing. You know, the universe works in very special ways, and for Carlos to bounce back from, you know, being out of the car, being laying in the hospital bed, to come back here, not being 100% fit, and then, to be honest, you know, I would have loved to have been able to see actually if Max was able to continue, because the pace of the Ferrari and also Carlos in it was just so strong today.
You arrive to the first race and boom, a good podium that gets the season going, and then suddenly the appendix, the unknown of when am I going to be back, am I going to be back in full form, how long it's going to take me to get back up to speed and confident, and then suddenly you come back and win. Yeah, it just shows how beautiful is life in that sense. You know, what a roller coaster, but life is good sometimes.
A new dawn for the chasing pack, or merely a Red Bull blip? Sadly for Ferrari and McLaren, it appeared to be the latter, with Max taking another victory in Suzuka and 2 wins in Shanghai, in both the Grand Prix and the F1 Sprint. The first of 6 of the shorter form races scheduled throughout the year. However, all was not well in the Red Bull camp, and before the next round it was announced that Adrian Newey, arguably the greatest car designer in F1 history, would be leaving the organisation at the end of the year. In Miami, the Milton Keynes outfit felt besieged, but down in Woking, they'd been working miracles.
From front wing to rear wing, pretty much every part of the car has been subject to some development. This car actually comes slightly ahead of time compared to what we had planned initially.
These parts are clearly not just about cooling the brakes. There's clearly a big aerodynamic advantage to some of these parts like this. Here is the new side pod duct. This is their big development item for this race, and it's got tongues wagging and eyes looking as well.
It took a while for the Papaya Power to prove itself. Max won the sprint around the Hard Rock Stadium and put himself on pole for the Grand Prix.
And the Miami Grand Prix is underway. Poor start for Charles Leclerc. Max Verstappen maintains the lead. Oh, he was nearly hit by his teammate. Oscar Piastri is up to 2nd position. Race leader with the swap on, trying to take avoiding action, and he clobbers the bollard. Max Verstappen has been called to the pits. Oscar Piastri leads the Grand Prix for McLaren.
It's a long game. There's not going to be a lot of overtaking. It's going to be a race about tyre management and strategy.
Lando Norris is yet to stop. Off the road goes Kevin Magnussen, Logan Sargent there as well. And this is a big moment for Lando Norris. The full safety car is out. Lando Norris is going to get the benefit.
Today was the day that someone was like, I'm going to throw a safety car now.
And Lando Norris is going to venture back out onto the racetrack as the race leader. Can Lando Norris keep Max Verstappen behind? We're fighting immediately on the restart here. Norris, Verstappen, then Leclerc. Carlos Sainz trying to go the long way round and claim 4th place, but it's elbow thrown by Oscar Piastri. It's a landmark day for Lando. Lando Norris wins for the first time in Formula One.
Oh, I love you all. We did it! It's incredible. I don't know what I'm meant to say. I just want to smile the rest of the day. Yeah, it's an amazing feeling seeing everyone applauding and cheering and seeing the whole team there, so happy.
Max was back to winning ways at Imola, but Lando was right on his heels, chasing him all the way.
Verstappen is nearly there. He's nearly home. Max Verstappen will take back the top step. What a finish from those two across the line. He beats Lando Norris by 0.7 of a second.
I was just praying for one more lap. I was just praying for someone to say one more lap, you know. One more lap, at least he would have had to defend into turn one and maybe something could have come from that, but one lap too late.
On to Monaco, and there was a chance of redemption for one driver. A combination of bad luck and poor strategy had hampered Charles Leclerc's attempts to win his home Grand Prix over the years. Now, with the Ferraris much more competitive, it was looking like his time had finally come. The Monegasque topped 2 of the practice sessions and nabbed pole position. Teammate Sainz was on the second row, and either side of the Scuderia drivers were the McLarens, adorned in their special Ayrton Senna-inspired livery.
And the Monaco Grand Prix is underway. We get the launch from the line from Charles Leclerc. He's going to maintain the lead. Looks like the sparks out of the back of the car for Sainz. He has got a problem. He's off and he's out. Watch Oscar Piastri in second place. He's all over the back of the Scarlet Ferrari, trying to chase his way by. Would have been bold. One Ferrari out immediately, and the red flag is flying on lap 1 of 78. Oh, that's a big crash that we didn't see further back. Look, no front left, no front right.
Very unnecessary, you know, like we had a lot of damage. We had a very dangerous incident. He goes towards the wall comes a little bit back towards the track. I have nowhere to go, so I don't know if he didn't see me or what, but you know, I can't just disappear.
Obviously it's an unfortunate incident, you know, for us to retire early in the race after a long race that they was gonna go later on.
What did he do? What did he do? What did he try to attack me?
Red flag.
Gosh. The whole car is damaged now.
Trying to chase his way by. Would have been bold. One Ferrari out immediately, and the red flag is flying on lap 1 of 78. Oh, that's a big crash that we didn't see further back. Look, no front left, no front right.
Very unnecessary, you know, like we had a lot of damage. We had a very dangerous incident. He goes towards the wall comes a little bit back towards the track. I have nowhere to go, so I don't know if he didn't see me or what, but you know, I can't just disappear.
Obviously it's an unfortunate incident, you know, for us to retire early in the race after a long race that they was gonna go later on.
What did he do? What did he do? What did he try to attack me?
Red flag.
Gosh. The whole car is damaged now.
In 2017, Charles Leclerc lost his father, and in these final days, he told his father a white lie, that he'd made it to Formula One, that he'd signed the contract. It wasn't true then, but his driving has made it true now. And look what he's done with the opportunity. The grandstands he saw built as a kid growing up now rise for him. And for the first time in 93 years, this fabled race is won by one of their own. Charles Leclerc wins the Monaco Grand Prix to achieve his dream.
We won it! Finally!
Yes! 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 Yes!
It was a wet affair in Montreal, which offered strategic options for some of the midfield teams. With standing water on many parts of the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, Haas opted for full wets, while everyone else gambled with the Inters.
And the Canadian Grand Prix is underway. They crawl off the line with George Russell chopping across Max Verstappen. Further back we go, and you can see Sergio Perez close there with Gasly.
Slightly sliding, Gasly coming across him a little bit.
He's in another lead right now on that full wet tyre. Magnussen is going all the way to the front of the field as it stands. He's passing people for fun, and he's up 7 places from where he started. We had a lot of fun with Kevin Magnussen, but now Haas have conceded. that it's time. Oh, it's slow, it's so slow. And after all of that overtaking, it's a slow stop for Kevin Magnussen.
Felt like there was something coming there in the beginning of the race, and nothing to show for it.
Lando Norris gets past Max Verstappen and takes second place in the Grand Prix. This is the battle for the lead. Norris moving past, under braking and going through. The safety car is deployed, and there is Logan Sargent.
Norris has gone through, he's come past us, and he hasn't pitted. There's now an opportunity for the likes of Verstappen, Russell and Piastri to dive in. In Miami, Verstappen caught the safety car.
Looking out of the window to see whether Lando Norris comes in. Does he pit? Yes, he does. Max Verstappen is going to retake the lead. There's that line. They were racing to that point. One Williams still left in the Grand Prix is Alex Albon, and he is fighting his way past the RB, fighting his way past the Alpine, and that is dramatic stuff.
In goes Verstappen, in goes Russell. No, Norris stays out. Big decision there for McLaren.
That is fascinating stuff. They've given him a lap in clear air. Lando Norris on the right, Max Verstappen on the left-hand side of your picture, and Lando Norris is going to be standing on the power in the lead of the Canadian Grand Prix for a second, but the tyres aren't up to temperature. There's nothing between the two of them. The error opens the door for George Russell. Once again, it's a safety car out on the circuit for another twist in this Canadian Grand Prix.
I was kind of expecting him to stop, but the way it rolled around, and a bit of a passenger, so frustrating because for sure points was available today.
Russell trying to power around the outside. They're close to contact. They're nearly banging wheels into the corner. And Lewis Hamilton's roaring by as well. Lewis Hamilton in Montreal. He is just a master.
Yuki Tsunoda.
He went off the road at turn 8. Is narrowly avoided by those behind. Now time for Mercedes versus Mercedes for the last step on the podium.
We are racing. Just remember, it goes without saying, keep it clean, please.
The two Silver Arrows heading to the final chicane. He had the warning, but he got the place. For the 60th time in Formula One, Max Verstappen takes the win.
Yes, what a race, guys. Not easy, but we did it.
There you go, what goes around comes around. That's Miami back.
The same 1-2 in Barcelona, just 2 seconds separating winner Verstappen from the chasing Norris. But it was a reversal for Mercedes, Hamilton and the podium this time. On to Spielberg, another sprint, another dominant display from Max in the short form race. But it wasn't all plain sailing.
So late on the brakes, Lando Norris dives to the inside and takes the lead.
I had a good opportunity, I went for it when I had the chance.
But Max Verstappen is trying to reply, and he will go ultra late on the brakes as well.
I didn't keep it, he did nothing special, I just did a bad job. Shocking decisions by me.
The once mighty Mercedes, languishing somewhat since the introduction of the new regulations in 2022, had been making slow and steady progress over the first 10 races, and those back-to-back third and fourths had buoyed their spirits. At the Austrian Grand Prix, Max and Lando may have locked out the front row in qualifying, but George Russell put himself just behind the pair as the lights went out at the Red Bull Ring.
And the Austrian Grand Prix is underway. Perfect reaction time for Max Verstappen. He's got what he needed off the line. He's going to be past his teammate. And Lewis Hamilton is up to third position. But George Russell wants the place back. Will they play fairly? Russell retakes P3. Again, the Alpines are providing us with on-track action. The team won't like it, but it's brilliant entertainment for us.
Suddenly, out of nowhere, we've got a race on our hands.
What a late lunge it was, but he'll have to give that place back, and he knows it. And now, on that 63, Lando Norris slows it down. That one will count if he can stand on the power. Max Verstappen was off the road to maintain the place. There'll be all sorts of investigations there.
Unfortunately, I'll forget.
How clever is it?
Game on once again. This time it's the outside line. Oh, they made contact. He's got a puncher. He's damaged his front wing. The leading contenders for the World Championship come together at turn 3. The crowd can't believe it. Verstappen and Norris come together chasing the lead.
Yeah, he reacted to my move. You're not allowed to do that.
Nice. Oh my God.
Okay, box, Max. Box.
These two friends turned rivals, turned into each other at turn number 3. George Russell into the lead of the Austrian Grand Prix.
George, you can win this. You can win this, George.
Just let me drive.
Piastri going alongside, trying to take second place. This is absolutely unbelievable stuff. George Russell wins an amazing Austrian Grand Prix. Max Verstappen limped home to 5th place. Norris classified but didn't see the flag on track.
God damn it.
When it came to qualifying
Such a
at
bad run.
Silverstone, it was the home drivers who stole the show. Russell taking pole from Hamilton, with Norris close behind.
Lights out, away we go. George Russell gets a good getaway. Lewis Hamilton tucks in behind. Verstappen's got the outside line. That works really well for Max Verstappen. He gets in front of the McLaren. Lando Norris is going on the attack and he passes Max Verstappen. You're on board with Oscar Piastri. He's through as well, as long as he can make the corner. It's a bit slippery.
It's raining, it's really slippery.
George Russell trying to defend from his teammate. Can he do anything? I don't think he can. Lewis Hamilton takes the lead of the British Grand Prix. We've got a long way to go in this race. Oh, both off, both run wide.
It's really chucking it down and none of them have pitted. Norris to the inside.
Lando Norris takes second place. Look how close Lando Norris is to Lewis Hamilton. There's a real chance he's going to overtake in an unusual area. He's done it. Lando Norris now takes the lead of the British Grand Prix. Oscar Piastri getting alongside Lewis Hamilton. Just has to finish the move. Down into Stoke Corner and he's done it. It's only Norris who's told to come in, but this could hurt Piastri later. Hamilton's told to come in.
Mercedes double stack. Russell's in behind him.
Oh, Russell's being told retire the car. George Russell in the pits. Oh my goodness, the man who started from pole position, who took victory last week in Austria. He is out of the British Grand Prix.
Hamilton's in and Norris stays out. He comes past the commentary box.
So this is fascinating. Is this going to be the right decision to go onto the slick tyres on this lap? Interestingly, Verstappen has come in as well.
In he comes. This has got to be perfect. Hamilton was a second and a half quicker in the middle sector. McLaren might have blown it by staying one extra lap, and Lewis is going to come through.
Hamilton comes out in front of Lando Norris. Here comes Max Verstappen. He moves to the outside and he makes the move. He's up into second place and Lando was not able to fight that. Lewis Hamilton wins the British Grand Prix. He takes his 9th win at Silverstone, his first win in nearly 1,000 days in Formula One, his 104th victory ever. Absolutely brilliant.
Get in there, Lewis! You the man! Thank you so much, guys. It means a lot. It means a lot to get this one. A big thank you to all the fans here. Love you guys.
This is a lovely moment, isn't it? And you can see the emotion, even though we can't see his face, you can feel the emotion in Lewis with his dad. And oh, this is a really special moment.
Halfway through the season, and Max Verstappen still had a commanding lead in the fight for the driver's crown. But McLaren's upgrades had seen improvement for Lando Norris. Red Bull seemed in command of the constructors' battle, but Checo's disappointing run of form since Imola meant they weren't scoring as highly each round. And Ferrari, McLaren and Mercedes were finding more. It was looking likely to be a much closer affair towards the back end of the season. If anyone was doubting the upgraded McLaren's power and pace, Budapest put pay to those thoughts. The papaya cars locked out the front row at the Hungaroring, with Verstappen qualifying P3, the top trio separated by less than 0.05 of a second.
And the Hungarian Grand Prix is underway. Lando Norris chops across his teammate, but it's a good reaction time for Oscar Piastri. The two papaya cars go side by side with Piastri down to the inside. Verstappen trying to go the long way round. Piastri takes the lead of the race. Lando Norris in second. Verstappen off the road as he rejoins, having gone off all four wheels. He's slowing down, they will switch positions, and Lando Norris takes second place. Red Bull decide not to risk the penalty. Hamilton on the left-hand side, Verstappen trying to sweep around the outside and take the place. He goes off the road, he can't slow it down, and it's Hamilton staying in third for the moment.
It's quite impressive how we let ourselves get undercut at this completely race.
Lando Norris will be the McLaren that gets the fresh tyres first.
Can he undercut Piastri from here? 2 seconds.
That's the question, isn't it? Can he get onto the fresher rubber? Can he put the pressure on that way? They chose to bring in their leader in the championship. This is going to be a huge moment. Lando Norris goes past his teammate, and it's going to be the net lead of the Grand Prix. They told Piastri it was to cover off Hamilton. Is that the moment that has decided our winner today?
Okay, Lando, Oscar has just pitted. We'd like to re-establish the order at your convenience. We need you to save more tyres, please, and we do want to let Oscar through.
We should have boxed him first, then, surely, no?
Doesn't matter.
I mean, it does. To me, maybe.
This time he gets there, he locks up and he makes contact with his old rival. Verstappen and Hamilton come together again.
The way to win a championship is not by yourself, it's with the team. You're going to need Oscar and you're going to need the team.
Lando Norris is backing off. He was on the cusp of a second Grand Prix victory. A swap of positions. Oscar Piastri goes back through into the lead of a Grand Prix. The Australian driver advances all the way to the checkered flag. Oscar Piastri wins for the first time in Formula One as Lewis Hamilton claims his 200th podium in Formula One.
You're a fast car 7 years ago. 7 years ago. You had it. You had a quick car. You made the most of it. No, it's us.
On to Spa-Francorchamps, one of the most iconic tracks on the F1 calendar, where the so-called silly season was in full swing. The driver contract merry-go-round had been set in motion pre-season, with Hamilton's announcement of his move to Ferrari. Nico Hülkenberg had signed a deal with Sauber for 2025 back in April. His Haas seat was subsequently given to Ollie Behrman, who'd so impressed as a stand-in for the ailing Carlos Sainz in Saudi. Now, ahead of the Belgian Grand Prix, the American team announced that Esteban Ocon would try for them next year, meaning Kevin Magnussen would be out of a seat.
It is exciting. As I said, it is a new challenge for me, which I'm very much looking forward to, and yeah, to be racing with Holly as well. He's an exciting young prospect. Many people say he's going to be a future world champion, so yeah, I look forward to be teaming up with him and hopefully push the team forward.
Qualifying at Spa was affected by the weather, and again Max showed his mastery of the wet, the quickest driver on track, but took a 10-place drop for a technical penalty, gifting top spot to Charles Leclerc. Beside him, the underperforming Sergio Perez, who was starting to feel the pressure.
And Formula One is underway for the Belgian Grand Prix. Great start for Lewis Hamilton. He's up to second place. He's immediately past Sergio Perez. Charles Leclerc holds the lead. Side by side we go with Lewis Hamilton and Sergio Perez into Eau Rouge. No, Hamilton's ahead. He's trying to take the lead from Charles Leclerc. Now with the help of DRS out of the slipstream to the race lead for Lewis Hamilton. And this is crucial. Russell's getting past Oscar Piastri. So going to the new rubber earlier on has worked for George Russell. Can Piastri do something about it immediately? Piastri has to go on the attack here. Vital that he gets to the inside of Russell. He needed to make the move, and he did. DRS open. Russell breezes by and takes fourth place.
Think rubber wants up.
Piastri's close to Leclerc again.
Charles Leclerc looking in the mirrors. Piastri wants that inside line. Leclerc is not going to give it to him. So going the long way round and taking the position is Oscar Piastri, who fights his way to third. Driving brilliance from the wheel of George Russell, who takes one of the greatest drives you will ever witness to the top step of the podium.
Yes! Woo-hoo!
Higher whisperer.
Higher whisperer.
However, celebrations turned to commiserations for Russell. Found to be 1.5 kilograms underweight post-race, the Briton was disqualified, and the victory given to Silver Arrow teammate Hamilton. Everyone needed a summer break, but Carlos Sainz worked hard in the gap, the Spaniard signing with Williams, securing a drive for 25.
Williams gave me the trust and the belief, and I believe in that, and I felt really encouraged by the project there, and really honestly motivated to see a team that wanted me so much
At Zandvoort, the Orange Army were out in force, hoping for yet another Max masterclass around the dunes. However, McLaren were there to spoil the Dutch party.
It's a poor start for Lando Norris, and Max Verstappen takes the lead. On board with Lando Norris, trying to take the lead of the Dutch Grand Prix. He's getting to the apex first. He's moving ahead. Lando Norris wins the Dutch Grand Prix with a crushing performance.
Sadly, this would be Logan Sargent's final race. The American driver had suffered a tricky second season with Williams. Memories of his slightly fortunate points finish in Austin last year, now a distant one. Williams team principal James Vowles took the difficult decision to replace him with academy driver Franco Colapinto for the remaining races. On to Monza, another of the legendary European circuits, where frenzied Ferrari fans, slightly starved of Scuderia success, waited desperately for a winner in Scarlet, the first since Leclerc in 2019. But Charles and Carlos could only manage 4th and 5th in qualifying. Ahead of them, a McLaren front row lockout.
And the Italian Grand Prix is underway. Lando Norris is looking at his teammate and he's got the launch that he needs. Russell goes onto the grass and over the road. Russell loses out as a result of going over the road at turn number 1. It's Charles Leclerc, then Carlos Sainz as the McLarens are side by side. And Oscar Piastri's going all the way around the outside to take the lead with a bold and brilliant move. Lando still can't keep the lead on lap number 1 and he's lost second place to Charles Leclerc.
Really tough between teammates at the start, but it's a brilliant move this from Piastri, and it is fair. He's left enough space at the apex. Lando's got the car under control. It's a really costly one for Lando.
Oscar Piastri in the pits. Charles Leclerc takes the lead of the Grand Prix.
It's a huge risk because they've just handed Ferrari right now a 1-2, and they can just see if they can make these hard tyres go to the end.
These are magical moments at Monza. The Tifosi are roaring him home. And for the second time in his career, Charles Leclerc is the winner of the Italian Grand Prix.
Ma come mi fai sognare, come mi fai sognare. Grandissimi! Un'altra volta e torniamo!
Behrman returned to the fray in Azerbaijan, this time sitting in for his future team Haas, taking Kevin Magnussen's seat for the weekend after the Dane was slapped with a one-race ban for accumulating too many penalty points. The British rookie finished P10, thus scoring points for 2 different teams in a season. But it was Oscar Piastri's day in Baku. Teammate Norris was 4th, and Verstappen struggled, finishing 5th. Max now hadn't won a race since Spain, and Lando was chipping away at his lead in the Drivers' Championship. And under the lights in Singapore, Norris closed the gap even more. Starting from pole beside his rival, he led from the off, pushing his McLaren to the very limits. Barely troubled out front, he almost snatched defeat from the jaws of victory, his risky lines forcing a number of close shaves with Singapore's unrelenting walls.
This could have changed the outcome of our winner today. Lock up, and he brushes the barrier. That was so close to the end of his Grand Prix.
Norris held it together and came home first, but was denied the extra point for fastest lap at the death. Daniel Ricciardo took that honour on his final go-around in what he must have suspected was his last race for VCARB. The Australian driver had struggled to match the points haul of teammate Yuki Tsunoda, and with so many Red Bull Academy drivers waiting for a seat at the organisation's junior team, the writing was on the wall.
Yeah, the cockpit is something that I got very used to for many years. And yeah, just wanted to savor the moment.
Replacing the Honey Badger for the remaining 6 races, New Zealander Liam Lawson, who'd ably sat in for the injured Australian in 2023. In Austin sprint qualifying, Max Verstappen seemed to have found his mojo again.
Finally, for Max Verstappen, he finds himself at the top of the timing page once again.
And as the sprint got underway, Lando went on the attack once more.
Max Verstappen goes defensive, didn't really need to, and he maintains the lead into turn number 1. Lando Norris trying to pinch ahead of all of them. Lando Norris on the attack, and he's up to second. Sainz and Leclerc putting on a show. Sainz got to the apex first, but again the up and under works for Charles Leclerc. Is that the moment for Carlos Sainz to get through? And this time Sainz will get ahead. Fernando Alonso having to get out of it.
Man, the Alpha Tauri is such an idiot.
Welcome to Formula One, Liam Lawson. Verstappen has checked out, but is there an opportunity for Sainz there? Thought about it, but he's conjured the lock-up from Lando Norris, and he's opened the door for Carlos Sainz to climb to second place on the final lap of the sprint. Max Verstappen wins another sprint race in Formula One.
Nice last lap, well controlled. Focus on tomorrow.
Yeah, good effort, guys. That was much better.
Norris top qualifying for the main event. Beside him on the front row, the current championship leader.
And the US Grand Prix is underway. Max Verstappen's going to give himself an opportunity into turn number 1, but Lando Norris is chopping across. There's the late lunge that Max Verstappen was looking for, but he sends Lando Norris wide, and through goes the Ferrari of Charles Leclerc. Carlos Sainz, does he go super brave? The answer is yes, and now it's Verstappen off the road. He's been barged out of the way. Sainz feathers back the throttle because he knows he can't overtake him.
Yellow flag in sector 3. Oh, big lock-up.
Off the road goes Lewis Hamilton. Lewis Hamilton out of the US Grand Prix.
Liam Lawson, Fernando Alonso back at it again.
The two that were arguing yesterday, continuing the conversation, not intimidated by a two-time world champion.
I have to give it to Liam Lawson, going from P19 to P9 in the race, of course, huge feat for him. On his debut weekend, definitely made a statement there.
He's got some dog in him because you're going against a two-time world champ and he wasn't backing down. Like you think maybe a driver would, like ease your way in. He's got a point to prove, hasn't he?
It's not a finishing school, it's Formula One, it's the top tier of motor racing, and he absolutely belongs after that weekend. That was superb from him.
And looking for the inside, finding the inside, Franco Colapinto. That's another highlight moment. The two contenders again, separated by hardly anything, but still it's Verstappen ahead with 5 laps to go. Max Verstappen on the defensive, Lando Norris on the attack, Lando Norris going through on the brakes, or can Verstappen hang on to it? He keeps his foot in. They both go off the road.
Overtook me outside the track.
I think goes ahead of the apex.
Lando Norris has a penalty for leaving the track and gaining an advantage. He is 3.3 seconds ahead of Verstappen. It will not be enough, but Sunday is all about Charles. Another masterclass from Ferrari's favourite son. Charles Leclerc wins the US Grand Prix.
I guess I got a 5-second penalty.
Yeah, they gave you 5 seconds just at the end there for leaving the track, gaining an advantage.
Oh yeah, well then I should have just gone back behind him, shouldn't I?
It was a great battle between the top two in the World Championship, but it was resolved in Max Verstappen's favour. 354 points to his name, extending that advantage over Lando Norris, who's on 297. It is still McLaren out front, 40 points ahead of Red Bull Racing, with Ferrari closing in.
A week later, we were in Mexico City, where Carlos Sainz had put himself on pole ahead of Max and Lando.
We leave the line for the Mexican Grand Prix, and it's a good reaction time for Max Verstappen. He's got the inside line, he's got the momentum, he's surely going to get the lead. And now, Lando Norris is going to try and power past Carlos Sainz as well. Verstappen has the inside line and the opportunity. How brave will Carlos Sainz be? An immediate spin into the barriers for the V-carb. Off the road goes Carlos Sainz to maintain the lead. And Carlos Sainz feels the need to give the place back to Max Verstappen, having jumped over the road. Is he going to go for the late braking move? He is! That's the lead for Carlos Sainz! This is brave from Lando Norris, trying to go around the outside. Max Verstappen barges his rival off the road from Austin to Mexico City. They collide this time. Verstappen throwing it to the inside. They're both off. Extraordinary. It's a 10-second time penalty for Max Verstappen for forcing another driver off the track. Another 10-second time penalty for Max Verstappen for leaving the track and gaining an advantage. An opportunity for Perez. We're seeing so much overtaking. That was a car's width. They've made contact and Lawson stays ahead. Someone will be counting to 20 and then the signal will be given to the crew. There it is. And Verstappen serving 2 penalties. Oh, big moment off the road! And that's a huge moment of consequence off the road because it opens the door. Lando Norris is through to second place. Franco Colapinto, Liam Lawson, and contact between the Williams and the New Zealander.
Yeah, that might be Debbie at turn 12.
I guess it's the same idiot that crashed again.
You watch the highlights later.
Yeah, I'm watching it now.
Carlos Sainz wins the Mexico City Grand Prix. It will be a 10-point swing in the Drivers' World Championship after Lando Norris finishes in second. Our World Championship leader will come home in 6th place.
Yes. Yes.
Make a good weekend, Carlos.
Thank you.
Oh, this feels good.
In the Formula One World Championship battle for constructors, looks like it's going to be fought between Ferrari and McLaren all the way to Abu Dhabi.
The action came thick and fast as the season drew to a close. Sao Paulo hosted the 3rd race weekend of this particular triple header, which featured another sprint. Kevin Magnussen was unwell, so Ollie Behrman once again climbed into the vacant Haas cockpit. The McLarens were majestic, locking out the front row and taking maximum points in the shorter race, after a little papaya rules place swapping. Grand Prix qualifying at Interlagos, where the rain came down.
Franco Colapinto into the barriers to bring out the red flag, and our first interruption, heavily into the wall goes the Ferrari. Lance Stroll found the wall, but the red flag is out. That is not enough time to restart the session. This could be the moment that changes the World Championship. No one would have predicted Verstappen out in Q2 as Alonso brings out the red flag. That is a massive accident to bring out the 5th red flag of the day.
Out of the chaos, Norris proved his championship credentials by bagging his 7th pole of the season. Verstappen opted for an additional power unit and dropped a further 5 spots to start P17 in Sunday's race, where again the rain fell.
Lance Stroll finds himself off the road on the formation lap, and he has got himself into difficulty. I think we're going to need an aborted start here.
Colapinto's also parked at the wrong grid slot.
Yeah, all sorts of procedures have been breached here, Max.
Yeah, you have to wait for a green light.
Lando Norris noted for a starting procedure infringement. Did Lando begin the 2nd formation lap before the green lights were illuminated? The Sao Paulo Grand Prix is underway from the line. Good reaction time for George Russell. The lead for George Russell. The Mercedes man gets by. Round goes Checo. Sergio Perez spins round the Red Bull. And through the spray, having a go at Lewis Hamilton, fighting his way through and taking 10th place. The man on the charge, Max Verstappen, up to P10.
Ollie, we have a 10-second penalty for the collision with Colapinto.
Why? He didn't even lose any time.
Here we go with Max Verstappen in another league right now. Wasn't even a contest. The man showing us why he's a 3-time world champion. Another position gain. Lawson knows who he wants to join next year and he doesn't fight it. This was the spin round for Liam Lawson from Oscar Piastri, and he got a 10-second penalty for this. Hulkenberg has spun. I can see it out of the commentary box window. There he is as the rain hammers down. And Hulkenberg, usually so reliable when the rain has gone off, the virtual safety car is out to neutralise the race. Control-Alt-Delete, and we go again. All right. The top 2 felt the need to come into the pits and take on new tyres. Esteban Ocon rolls the dice. He's hoping now for a full stoppage with these conditions.
And it's an Alpine 1-3 right now. Verstappen splitting the difference in 2nd.
Look at Lando Norris going through. That is a crucial move to move up to 4th position. And the safety car is finally deployed to neutralise the race. Big crash into the wall for Franco Colapinto. It is a red flag. The race is interrupted with Esteban Ocon, the leader. Hulkenberg received outside assistance, which is why he was shown the black flag. That flag is to disqualify a driver from the race. Esteban Ocon takes us back to racing conditions. Off the road goes Lando Norris. Off the road into the tarmac runoff for Oliver Behrman.
Oh, and we see the Ferrari going around.
Into the wall. Carlos Sainz to bring out the safety car once again. There's a big opportunity for George Russell, but a better one for Max Verstappen, who finds himself taking the lead as Lando Norris has gone off the road. The championship pendulum swings in one corner.
You see the command now from McLaren to swap positions. That was expected.
The Dutchman has delivered a defining drive. He climbs the hill back to Grand Prix victory. Max Verstappen wins the Sao Paulo Grand Prix, 17th on the grid to the win, and punching the air with delight is Esteban Ocon, who takes his 4th career podium, and he will be joined by his teammate for his 5th career podium. And for the first time in 11 years, Team Enstone have both cars on the podium.
Honestly crazy. I never expected to go from P17 to P1. Was hoping for good points, but this is absolutely crazy.
Same as it was back in the days when we were the only one showing up at the track under the rain, freezing cold.
Exactly.
But it's all worth it.
It paid off today, and I tell you, when we did that formation, you know, in the in-lap, I think that's the first thing that came to my mind, you know. What a beautiful story that is.
Yeah. As a kid, from where we came from, to end up as teammates was against all odds, but to end up on the same podium,
that's more against all odds.
Yeah, it's on a season like this year, because no one would have been able to put a podium. But both cars on it, and in the way we did it is just incredible.
That whopping 33 points for Alpine saw them jump from 9th to 6th in the Constructors' Championship. The difference in potential prize money is huge for the lower placed teams, so this particular battle between Alpine, Haas and VCARB would be intense. Sao Paulo witnessed a Max masterclass and many a mishap from McLaren. It seemed Lando's hopes for a maiden driver's title were slipping away. Verstappen had just one job to do in Las Vegas.
If Max beats Lando tonight, he's champion of the world. Here are the lights. We're underway in Las Vegas and racing to turn number 1 with George Russell holding the lead. The battle is between Gasly and Sainz, and they open the door for Charles Leclerc. Charles Leclerc roars up to 2nd. George Russell holds the lead. Oh, there was always going to be an opportunity for multiple overtakes there. Russell defends P1, but Gasly could not defend P4. It's game on at the front of the field. We roar through the 17th and final corner of the racetrack. Look at this scene between Mercedes and Ferrari, separated by hardly anything. There's no grip around the outside, surely. Out front, Carlos Sainz has fought his way up to 2nd position. Charles Leclerc is now going to tumble off the podium. Through goes the championship leader. Norris gets past Gasly. He has moved up to 5th position. Took a while for Verstappen to get by. Sainz will be pitting. He's got no tyres left. That's Lewis Hamilton past Lando Norris, and that is for 6th position. Synchronized swimming. He's gone deep. He's gone on, and he's cut the line as he does so.
Now he pits, and that's going to cost Sainz a lot.
What happened?
We're not ready.
Wake up, guys, come on.
Oh, Perez trying to go past 2 of them in one corner and doing so. It's been a terrible season, but he absolutely roared by there. Here we go on the brakes for Carlos Sainz to get by, and Verstappen could not defend. To the inside, and claiming the position is Charles Leclerc. The defence for the man who will win the title in a few laps' time is over for the Ferraris. The British driver will look up and see the checkered flag first. He punches the air as George Russell wins the Las Vegas Grand Prix. It's 2nd place for Lewis Hamilton. Carlos Sainz will complete the podium, but further back, the Dutch driver will retain his crown. Max Verstappen is a four-time Formula One world champion.
That is 4 in a row, Max. 4 in a row, congratulations.
Max Verstappen, you are a 4-time world champion. That is a phenomenal achievement.
Oh my God, on the season, 4 times. Thank you guys, thank you to everyone. I mean, it was a little bit more difficult than last year, but we pulled through and we gave it all. Thank you so much, guys.
A lot of emotions right now. You know, it's been a long season, tough season as well. A lot of good races, but also a lot of tough races at the same time, and a lot of moments where, as a team, you know, we had to stick together and fine-tune a lot of bits in tough times. And it's not always been easy, but we remain calm and focused, you know, to the end goal. And also as a team in race weekends where we're clearly off pace, we still really maximize or even overperform in some races, and that definitely made the difference.
McLaren still led in the constructors' race, but Ferrari had narrowed the gap considerably. However, in Qatar, in the final sprint race of the season, the Woking team extended their lead with another 1-2, Norris gifting the win to Piastri, returning the favour from Brazil.
Oscar Piastri goes past Lando Norris, and the McLaren swap on the 19th and final lap.
Ferrari would need some luck, as well as speed and strategy in the Grand Prix.
And the Qatar Grand Prix is underway. George Russell launches off the line. He'll have to chop across Max Verstappen, who's got good momentum. He's got the inside line. He's got the lead of the Grand Prix. Lando Norris fighting on the inside as well. Lando's going past the pair of them. How did he do that? He didn't do that because Verstappen managed to get his elbows out. Ocon and Colapinto stranded at turn 1, and they are out at the first turn.
Not something that we wanted, but yeah, I would like to thanks the guys for their effort this race, but also their effort the whole year.
Piastri's past Leclerc. Leclerc understeered at the final corner, just couldn't get through, but he dives back on the inside.
So was that to Albon, which is why we had a yellow flag.
Check if he lifted for the yellow. There was a yellow in the middle of the straight.
Yeah, there was. We'll have a look, make sure he lifted.
Let's listen in then, as he's going to blast past this.
Check the board.
Lando did not lift, Max.
Oh, you report that then.
That mirror has been hit. Has it done any damage? A lot of debris from below Hamilton.
Puncher for Lewis Hamilton off the road. Another one this time for Carlos Sainz. The mirror on the racing line, and Carlos Sainz has a puncher. 2 cars on 1 lap. We now have a full safety car. Perfect restart for Lando Norris.
Yeah, terrible restart for Max Verstappen based on his previous ones. He's under pressure.
Side by side we go for the Grand Prix victory. Verstappen versus Norris in the turn 1, and they'll both be going deep. Verstappen hangs on to it. Piastri gave it everything to get past Charles Leclerc. He couldn't get there. Verstappen maintains the lead. It's a 10-second stop-go penalty for Lando Norris for failing to slow under yellow flags. Here we go again between Albon and Magnussen. That is a roar around the outside. What a great move from a man heading out of Formula One in a week's time.
Nice one, Kev.
Max Verstappen cruises over the line to win his 9th Grand Prix of the year. Charles Leclerc comes home in 2nd place. Oscar Piastri completes the podium, and we will see you next week for a title fight between McLaren and Ferrari. And welcome back to the top 10. Zhou Guanyu and Sauber, they've finally scored in 2024.
A bittersweet outcome for the Sauber drivers, as both Zhou Guanyu and Valtteri Bottas had already learned that the sole remaining seat with the team for next year was to be given to Formula 2 champion Gabriel Bortoleto. There was another new face at the final race weekend of the season. With the Haas-bound Esteban Ocon released by Alpine early, Jack Doohan was given an early start to his 2025 racing contract. Ferrari's title challenge was hampered from the start, not just by McLaren's pace in qualifying, which was rapid, but by a 10-place grid penalty for Charles Leclerc due to a technical infringement. After another papaya front row lockout, it was McLaren's championship to lose.
It is time to answer the final question of the season. Who will we call the champion constructor of the world? And the season finale is underway. Good launch off the line for the two McLarens. Car stalling on the grid, dropping down there. Contact, massive contact. Oscar Piastri making contact with the Red Bull as they flash through.
Magnussen trying to go by Perez up the inside into 6.
And round he goes. Perez spins. A wild opening lap of the Grand Prix.
Well, this is on board with Oscar Piastri.
Oh, big contact. And how did that not rip the front wing off? This is some attacking drive from Charles Leclerc as Ferrari continue to fight for this constructors' title. Huge lock-up and contact between the Sauber and the Haas.
Oh, isn't that just great?
Two drivers looking at their last Grand Prix start, to have it end like that is really unfortunate for both.
It was my bad. I mean, I was defending with all tires and I tried to brake as late as I could, but just couldn't stop the car.
Whoa! He lost the air on the front wing. Piastri gathered it together. This is the moment that McLaren dreamed of. Lando Norris wins the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. McLaren are world champions of 2024. They win the Constructors' title for the first time since 1998. Around the outside goes Lewis Hamilton, and he's roared around the outside to take fourth away from George Russell. What a move! In his last drive for Mercedes, he was never going to accept finishing behind his teammate. Completing the podium and climbing 16 places will be Charles Leclerc, and Lewis Hamilton, up 12, completes his attacking stint with Mercedes. After a decade in the doldrums, a season to remember for one of Formula One's most famous constructors.
We did it, mate. We did it. World champions. Well done. Woo! Papaya on top. Congrats, everyone. Incredible. Well done, everyone. So proud of you all. You all deserve this. Thank you so much. It's been a special year.
84 wins, 78 pole positions, and 153 podiums. A standout stint in Formula One like no other. Hamilton and Mercedes sign off in style. And the top two teams in the World Championship, it's like times of old. Ferrari and McLaren. Another title for the famous team, restored to the top of the Formula One World Championship.
So, a fourth driver's crown for Mighty Max and a ninth constructor's title for McLaren. 7 different Grand Prix winners across the season, all taking more than one victory, and some of the tightest margins between cars in decades. Formula One delivered in 2024. There'll be shake-ups across many teams next year, with rookies joining the fray and some seasoned heads shifting seats. The race is on to refine and rebuild for next year. We can anticipate another exciting and closely fought championship, and if it's half as good as this one, we're in for a treat.
Delicious. I've been searching down Pokemon facts for 5 years now. From hidden cutscenes to the rarest shinies to small, insignificant details that nobody noticed. This is everything I've found so far. I'm going to start this video off with one of the coolest facts on this list, and that is the gift Pokemon in Heart Gold Soul Silver that went undiscovered for over 10 years, until the year 2020, and was only found when Reddit user that goes by Alucard the Guy was attempting to soft lock their game by trapping themselves in Cianwood City, without a Pokemon that knows Surf or a way to obtain one. As a soft lock prevention method, there is an NPC in the Cianwood Pokemon Center that gives you a gift Tentacool if your game meets those conditions. And it can even be shiny hunted. This is one of the coolest things ever to me, and it makes me wonder what other mysteries still lie in these games, even after all these years. If you enter Rock Tunnel in Pokemon Yellow and happen to level up your Pikachu to level 26, where it learns Thunderbolt, you'll be greeted by this interesting animation that plays and lights up the cave temporarily. In Generation 5 of Pokemon, the best generation, when you are on any route in the game, the drums of the music will only play when you are moving. If you're standing still, the drums will completely stop. I actually recorded a little bit of gameplay so you can see. So we all know in Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness and Colosseum, there are some interesting changes to shiny forms of some Pokemon. But there's one in particular that I find to be incredibly interesting, and that Pokemon is Vaporeon. Huge shout out to one of my best friends in the community, Mr. Alpha, who's hunted shiny Eevee in this game and told me about this. When you evolve your Eevee into a Vaporeon, it acquires this interesting snowy aura that literally no other Pokemon has in this game or any game since. Although it's not exclusive to just the shiny version, I think it makes the shiny version look incredible. Next fact, Hugh from Pokemon Black and White 2 is the best rival in all of Pokemon. That's totally not my opinion and an irrefutable fact. Okay, maybe that's my opinion, but he's the only rival to punch an evil team member, and that's pretty badass. I mean, come on. The 3 legendary dogs, although not obtainable in Ruby and Sapphire, it's possible they could have planned to have been. The reason for that is there's a rendition for the legendary dog theme present in the game, in the classic Hoenn sound font, and you're listening to it right now. But sadly, it went unused in the final release, and that honestly makes me kind of sad because these are some of my favorite legendary Pokemon ever created. But there's also a few more unused tracks in the game from Johto region, another being Route 38. So maybe the team was just having fun remixing these absolute jammers.
Damn, son, where'd you find this?
You probably know about Shucky, the gift Shuckle in the Johto region, but did you know it can't be shiny in Heart Gold Soul Silver, but it can in Gold Silver Crystal? Black and White 2 are the only main series games where your protagonist is canonically older than usual. Following that idea, there's multiple themes in the game targeted for a slightly more mature audience. For example, you can get a romantic partner in Black and White 2, Yancey or Curtis, and if you follow their side quests, you can get some Pokemon traded to you that you otherwise can't find anywhere in the Unova region, such as Ralts, Spiritomb, and Togepi. Pokemon Masters. No, not that one. Pokemon Masters Arena, the PC game. Never played it? Good, don't. It's probably the worst game ever made. It was a crappy kids game, full of the easiest puzzles and minigames that I can promise you couldn't stand to play for more than 10 seconds. Well, in this game, one of the quiz questions is, which one of these Pokemon cannot be found in the Safari Zone? In the image, they are clearly referring to Staryu, as you can get Heracross on Ruby Sapphire Emerald and Pinsir in Fire and Leaf Green. Well, guess what, Pokemon Masters Arena, if that even is your real name, technically speaking, that is kind of false. In Pokemon Gold and Silver's fabled unreachable Safari Zone, if you glitch inside of it and fish into the water, guess what you can get? Yeah, that's right, Star, you bitch. The Reggies have some of the coolest cryptic puzzles to obtain them in any Pokemon game. But did you know these puzzles were inspired by the hype and craze of the mysterious Mew under the truck fiasco? This next one is incredibly interesting to me. So in Generation 4, things in the game change depending on what day you play the game. Days like director Junichi Masuda's birthday increase the rate which eggs will hatch by a whopping 10%. Even dates like holidays such as Christmas Eve, Independence Day, Veterans Day, and many, many more all increase the rate in which you encounter wild Pokemon by 5%. While days that world tragedies occurred, the encounter rate decreases by 10%. Although this is a seemingly meaningless change, this feature is one of those things that adds a certain kind of magic and care to the older Pokemon games that I wish was still carried in the series. When you're making curry in Pokemon Sword and Shield, there's a chance a Pokemon will wander into your camp for you to obtain, and they can even be shiny. Did you know that Ken Sugimori, the man who drew all the official art for literally every single Pokemon, also created the Pokemon logo? This dude's art is incredibly iconic. I bet his only regret is drawing this guy. I bet you didn't know that Pokemon came out with a typing game for the Nintendo DS that came with a keyboard to connect to your DS. The game was called Pokemon Typing Adventure, and the soundtrack was actually so good. You're actually listening to one of the songs off it right now. Did you know there are berries in the main series Pokemon games that are exclusive to Japan? In Generation 3, there were 12 berries distributed by the e-reader cards. If you were to theoretically obtain an e-reader card and an e-reader and transfer one of the berries up to Generation 5 or beyond, they would become the mysterious Enigma Berry, which if held by a Pokemon has the following effects. When a Pokemon holds an Enigma Berry and is hit by a super effective move, it will recover 1/4 of its HP. Some of you might know that Sword and Shield's shiny hunting method is actually broken and you do not get the right amount of boosted shiny odds after 500 KOs. But that's not the first time something like this has happened, even in the main series Pokemon games. In Pokemon Emerald, there's a coding error that makes the game behave as if it has a dead save battery, meaning you can't soft reset for a shiny Pokemon. Because instead of generating new frames, every time you soft reset or just boot up your game, Emerald always puts you back to frame 0. So unless you got pretty lucky and there's a shiny frame in your first 100 frames, soft resetting for a shiny is useless. If you want to know more about this and some ways to get around it, LJ Shiny Collector has some great videos about it, link in description. There is a very interesting item only present in Pokemon Gold, Silver, Crystal, only found in Cerulean Cave called the Berserk Gene, that raises your Pokemon's attack by 2 stages, but also confuses you, kind of like using the move Swagger on yourself. This is probably a reference to a popular theory about the famous Berserker mushrooms that Vikings would eat to enter a dissociative trance-like state and battle non-stop. Kind of a dark thing to bring to a Pokemon game. The touch boxes in Diamond and Pearl on Nintendo DS were created to be larger, so you could touch them with your fingers. Some staff originally did not like this idea because they thought the DS would get dirty with Game of. In March of 2005, a Pokemon theme park opened in Nagoya, Aichi, Japan, called Pokepark, complete with bumper cars, Ferris wheels, trains, and all assortments of rides. But most interestingly is you could also receive exclusive gift Pokemon via important item in the entire Pokemon universe. Oh, you do? Well, then I present to you the Brick Piece. Brick Piece. Only found in Generation 1 and 2 before images of your items even existed. It is unclear what this magical brick piece even looks like, although we could probably imagine. But if you take this fabled brick piece to a Pokemart and sell it to a lucky vendor, you will get an astounding 25 Pokédollars, which could buy you absolutely nothing. But if money is no object and you seek to use the brick piece to its fullest potential, you might be a bit disappointed because the brick piece does nothing at all. But I will trade this unbelievably rare brick piece for a fancy smashing of that like and subscribe button, which I would say is a pretty good deal. In March of 2013, an international release of a very underrated 3DS game arrived. This game was called Harmonite. It was a rhythm-based platformer where you hit items to play along with the beat, and well, this title was actually developed by a little-known company known as Game Freak. Yes, that Game Freak. And they actually added 5 bonus Pokemon levels that include remixed and remastered versions of classic Pokemon themes, and they're actually really great, and you're listening to one right now. The pre-released American box art for Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire actually had some interesting changes. It included the "Gotta Catch 'em All" slogan on the box that hasn't appeared in anything for a very long time, and the font of the title was the same as Gold and Silver. It's interesting how these little changes make the box art feel so much older. Let's talk about Pokestar Studios in Pokemon Black and White 2, a very underused feature of these games, which I honestly don't blame anyone for because I never did as a kid either, but I have some interesting quirks about this area that I want to talk about. There's a tile on this tree that you can surf on for some reason. Can't do anything with it, but hey, it's there. There's also this interesting quirk when it comes to this star animation that you can put on your Pokemon. I'm not sure what you have to do to get your Pokemon to have this star animation, but it has something to do with the Pokestar movies or whatever, I don't know. But what's actually cool about it, if your Pokemon happens to be shiny and also assigned the star animation, your shiny sparkles will no longer appear, but your Pokemon will still be shiny. If you use the Google Lens app on the cover of Pokemon Sword, you'll get a really cool animation to play that looks like this. Shout out to Reddit user A and the Lobster who made this observation. Venonat and Venomoth. Remember these guys? Well, if you don't, I wouldn't be surprised, because interestingly enough, they haven't appeared in a single regional Pokédex since the Johto region, which doesn't even count because every Gen 1 Pokemon was in Johto. So basically, this beautiful, perfect, stunning little bug hasn't appeared in a regional Pokédex since 1996. 6 generations, no Venonat. Why, Game Freak? We need answers. Venonat is perfect. Put him in the games. Let's talk about my favorite Pokemon of all time, Munchlax. Although Munchlax was a main character in the Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire anime, if I were to ask you what English Pokemon video game Munchlax first appeared in, what would you say? If you said Pokemon Diamond and Pearl, that would be incorrect. But if you said Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness, that would also be incorrect. Munchlax's first video game appearance was actually a very prominent character in Pokemon Dash on the DS, and also made an appearance in a very underplayed yet incredibly awful racing game called Pokemon Team Turbo, which, if you're wondering, was made by the same people who did Pokemon Masters Arena. Well, isn't that a surprise? How did they get the Pokemon license and why did they make these games? Let's talk about Mew. Mew represents the pinnacle of rarity in Pokemon. It's part of the reason Pokemon is what it is today, because in the 90s everyone was freaking out trying to figure out how to get the mythical 151st Pokemon. But although Mew was introduced since the very beginning, how would you obtain a Mew right now? Like seriously, how do you get a Mew? Well, let's say our goal is to somehow get a Mew to a main series Pokemon game, and let's take away a few things. Glitches, because it would make it illegitimate, and events because those are time-based, and accessories because you should never have to buy one Pokemon. Now for this hypothetical quest for a Mew, let's say we have every single Pokemon game ever made. Sheesh, must be nice. Every main series game, every spin-off, every weird pinball game, every ancient mobile game, even you, I guess you can come with. So we have every Pokemon game. Now what? Well, can we get it in Pokemon Red, Blue, Yellow? No. Gold, Silver, Crystal? Nope. Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald? No. Black and White? No. Black and White 2? Nope. X and Y? No. Sun and Moon? No way. Ultra Sun? Just don't. Let's Go Eevee? Not without buying an accessory. Sword and Shield? Nope. Well, if you notice we skipped over one group of games, that's right. Pokemon Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum. Now, you're probably thinking to yourself, there's no way I remember playing these games and never finding a Mew. And you'd be right. The way we actually obtain Mew is through a different game entirely called Pokemon Ranch for the Wii. Pokemon Ranch is a digital-only Wii game designed as a hub to transfer your Pokemon to and from Generation 4, and keep them on a ranch, I guess. And on this ranch lies the most important NPC in the history of Mew hunting, Haley. But she won't just give it to you. Oh my god, she won't just give it to you. You're gonna have to get your hands dirty. In order to receive a Mew from Haley, you have to catch 999 Pokemon and transfer them to Pokemon Ranch. Yes, 999. That is double the amount of Pokemon that even existed at the time of this game's release. But then and only then will you receive your precious Mew, and your journey is finally over. Sadly though, if you weren't one of the lucky ones and didn't have Pokemon Ranch downloaded by 2019 when the Wii Shop shut down, it is currently impossible to legitimately obtain a Mew, aside from purchasing accessories using events or glitches. But hey, maybe I missed something and let me know if I did. I'm gonna kick this off like always with one of the most interesting facts on this list. In Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum, the nature of your Pokemon has a very interesting effect that I'm quite positive you have never noticed. As you're well aware, natures raise one stat and lower another on your Pokemon, or don't do anything at all. Well, if you happen to have a nature that is plus or minus your speed stat, it will affect the speed of your Pokeball throwout animation. It's a little hard to tell, but watch closely. The left is a Pokemon with a neutral nature, and the right is a plus speed nature Pokemon. As you can see, the Pokemon with the plus speed nature completes its animation much faster. Shout out to my friend TC Bronzong, who I saw this from on Twitter. By the way, I want to interact with more of my subscribers, so make sure to go follow me on Twitter. Additionally, all the way back in Generation 3, a very similar but hard to notice quirk was added that I bet you didn't catch either. You see, if the Pokemon leading your party is a higher level than the wild Pokemon that spawn in that area, the encounter animation will actually be significantly faster. Here's another side-by-side comparison. If you have dove into the world of obscure Pokemon knowledge, you might know that in Generation 2, the way shiny Pokemon are determined is different than any other generation, in that they're determined by their actual stats and IVs as opposed to hidden IDs like later on. Well, the original shiny formula actually had some interesting effects on some Pokemon. The Pokemon that were directly affected were any Pokemon with an 88:12 male to female gender ratio, such as the Gift Eevee in Goldenrod City and the 3 Johto starters. Due to the way shininess was determined, for whatever reason, the 12% female versions of these Pokemon could not be shiny whatsoever. No matter how many times you reset your game, you will never find a shiny female starter or Eevee in these games. The Safari Zone. The spot where you spend hours trying to catch low percent Pokemon until you give up or find a shiny one, and it flees and you smash your game cartridge. But what if there's an easier way to go about this? Well, if you happen to be in Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald, then you're in luck. There's actually a very useful glitch with the Pokeblocks mechanic. By putting the exact right combination of Pokeblocks in the feeder and throwing the right colored blocks at your targeted Pokemon, it will make any Mon you want to catch completely unable to flee. I left a link in the description to a guide to this by my friend Shiny Collector. But this isn't the only quirk with Pokeblocks in the same Safari Zone. The way a Pokemon reacts when it is given a Pokeblock will actually display its nature. For instance, a hardy Pokemon will make 3 jumps, growing in height each time, while a careful Pokemon will make 3 small jumps, whereas a docile Pokemon will make no movement at all. In Pokemon Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum, if you happen to take a stroll onto Route 212 on May 1st, you'll be greeted by the only day in the entire game where it will not be raining on that route. Have you ever played Pokemon Puzzle League for the Nintendo 64 and Wii? No? Yeah, me neither. But in this game, there's an unused voice line buried in the files. It contains a recording of one of the developers confessing their love for somebody. This is one of the weirdest things I've ever seen go unused in a Pokemon game, but I gotta admit, it's kinda cute. Check this out.
Emi-chan, ichimu ai shitteru. I love you, Liz.
In Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Gates to Infinity, the Swanna that runs an inn and cafe makes a now extremely outdated reference to the song Call Me Maybe by Carly Rae Jepsen. One common theme in Pokemon is hiding very obvious nods or Easter eggs just barely out of the player's reach. And while researching this, I found one example that I had never seen before. You may have seen Pattern Bush on the Sevi Islands in Fire Red and Leaf Green that on your first run through you might think is a standard grassy route, but from an aerial view resembles a circuit board. But if you think that's a reach, then when's the last time you floated above Snow Point City in Pokemon Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum? Because you might think twice about every location you go in when you notice this city is designed to resemble a snowflake. Did you know Pokemon and Naruto might have more in common than you think? The move Double Team is actually based on the same idea as Naruto's Shadow Clone Jutsu. In Japan, Double Team is called Kage Bunshin. If you're a goated sub-watcher, you've heard this term before. You probably remember in the very beginning of almost every single Pokemon game where the professor throws out a Pokemon and introduces you to the world. Well, in Generation 5, the best generation, it is the only generation where the professor throws out a Pokemon, and it has a chance to be shiny. Not just Minccino in Black and White, but even the Cinccino in Black and White 2, meaning this was intended or went unnoticed. In Pokemon Emerald on the Cycling Road, there is an NPC that tells you how fast you cross the bridge down to 1/100th of a second. And I'm sure I wasn't the only one who, when I heard this, instantly got speedrunner brain and wanted to see how fast I could beat the course. Well, good luck, because the world's fastest time is 9.15 seconds. And one day on my